Hello everyone and welcome to week 6 of our module Pedagogy of Higher Education. Today we will focus on assessment in higher education, tools, techniques and fairness. Assessment is a fundamental part of the teaching and learning process. It goes beyond simply assigning grades. It allows us to understand how well students are learning, identify gaps in knowledge, and provide meaningful feedback that supports growth. When done effectively, assessment helps both students and educators reflect on progress, adapt teaching strategies, and ultimately enhance learning outcomes. Here, we explore the main purposes of assessment in higher education. Assessment serves multiple roles, each supporting student learning and academic standards in different ways. First, pedagogy. Assessment promotes student learning by providing feedback that helps students improve their performance. It also helps educators understand what and how students are learning. Second, measurement. Assessment allows us to evaluate student knowledge, understanding, abilities, or skills in a structured and reliable way. Third, standardization. By providing marks or grades, assessment enables us to establish a student's performance. These grades can also inform decisions about progression or eligibility for further study. Finally, certification. Assessment assures the public, employers, and higher education providers that an individual has achieved an appropriate level of academic competence. This reflects the standards set by the awarding institution, including alignment with frameworks such as the Framework for Higher Education Qualifications. Together, these purposes ensure that assessment supports learning, maintains academic standards, and communicates achievement transparently. Assessment is a complex process, and one of the key distinctions we need to understand is between formative and summative assessment. Summative assessment contributes directly to a grade or the overall calculation of a student's degree classification. It provides a measure of what the student has achieved at a particular point in time. Formative assessment, on the other hand, is designed to help students understand how well they are progressing. It provides feedback that enables learners to identify areas for improvement and develop their skills further. Formative assessment serves several important purposes. It facilitates the development of self-assessment, encouraging students to reflect on their own learning and progress. It promotes dialogue between peers and tutors, fostering collaborative understanding and discussion around learning. This dialogue is particularly important during collaborative or group work. Even when summative assessment is involved, engaging students in discussion about expectations and understanding of the tasks helps deepen learning and supports better performance. In this slide, we focus on two important purposes of assessment: clarifying what good performance looks like and helping students close the gap between their current and desired performance. First, clarifying performance. Assessment helps students understand the goals, criteria, and expected standards of their work. This is particularly important for strategic students who are achievement-oriented. They will focus their efforts on what is required to achieve the best possible marks. Clear expectations guide students on how to allocate their efforts effectively. Second, closing the gap. Assessment provides opportunities for students to improve their performance. This is best achieved through staged assessment or formative feedback during the learning process. Feedback given only at the end of a course is often too late to significantly impact learning, especially in higher education programs that are divided into multiple modules. Regular, constructive feedback ensures students can adjust their approaches, develop skills, and progressively move toward the desired level of performance. Let us focus on how assessment can deliver high-quality information to students and support motivation and self-esteem. First, providing high-quality information. Feedback is a crucial tool for informing students about their learning. While written feedback can sometimes be misinterpreted, there are many alternative ways to communicate progress, such as personal response systems or in-class discussions. These methods allow lecturers to clarify misunderstandings and gain a clearer understanding of how students are learning. Second, encouraging positive motivational beliefs and self-esteem. Assessment and feedback can help foster confidence and motivation. However, this can be challenging in practice. Students are often more influenced by the grades they receive than by the feedback provided. While we cannot give high grades simply to boost self-esteem, constructive and supportive feedback can help students develop realistic self-assessment skills, build confidence in their learning, and maintain motivation to improve. An assessment can provide valuable information to teachers, helping to shape and improve teaching practice. At the end of a lesson, simple reflective questions such as, "What is the single most important thing you have learned in this session? What is the single most important thing you feel you still need to learn next time?" can provide insight into student understanding and highlight areas that may need further attention. This is also an opportunity for interrogating practice. As educators, we can ask ourselves, how can I improve my feedback using the 7 key principles we've discussed in previous slides? How can I monitor or evaluate whether these improvements are having a positive impact on student learning? By actively using assessment information to inform our teaching, we not only enhance student learning, but also develop as reflective practitioners who continuously refine our instructional approaches. Traditionally, assessments often apply the same criteria to all students. For example, grammar and spelling mistakes may lead to penalties in written work. Oral assessments may penalize students for communication skills, such as using new terminology or demonstrating listening and speaking abilities. Higher order cognitive skills like speaking, writing, listening, problem solving, and reading are usually assessed uniformly. However, inclusive assessment recognizes the diverse needs of learners and adapts accordingly. Students with dyslexia should not be unfairly penalized for grammar and spelling. Students with a hearing disability should not be disadvantaged in oral assessments. Students with a visual impairment may need oral assessment alternatives. The goal is to ensure that assessment measures learning and capability rather than being biased by a student's disability or difference. Fair and inclusive assessment not only supports equality, but also fosters a learning environment where all students can demonstrate their true potential. It is important to note that testing is not the same as assessment or appraisal. However, testing can serve as a valuable tool for gathering the information, data, or evidence needed for assessment and appraisal. Testing is one of the most significant and widely used techniques in any system of examination or evaluation. It involves the use of specific instruments or tools to collect information about student learning and performance. For example, in written examinations, the question paper is one of the most powerful tools for obtaining data on students' achievement. By carefully designing test items, educators can gather meaningful evidence about how well students have learned the material and identify areas for further development. A test of educational achievement is specifically designed to measure knowledge, understanding, or skills in a particular subject or group of subjects. For example, a test might focus on a single subject, such as arithmetic, providing a separate score for that subject and a total score for combined subjects. It is important to distinguish achievement tests from intelligence tests. Achievement tests measure the quantity and quality of learning attained in a specific subject or set of subjects after a period of instruction. Intelligence tests, in contrast, are more general in scope. They aim to measure underlying psychological processes, though they may still use some content similar to achievement tests. In essence, achievement tests are primarily concerned with what students have learned, while intelligence tests assess broader cognitive abilities. Traditionally, most educational achievement tests focus on measuring the amount of information acquired or the skills and techniques developed by students. However, in recent years, there has been a shift toward assessing broader educational outcomes such as attitudes and appreciations, problem-solving ability, the capacity to draw inferences from subject matter, applying generalizations to specific situations and problems. This evolution reflects the increasing emphasis on assessing higher-order thinking skills. Educational objectives are often categorized into 6 major classes: knowledge comprehension, application analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Each of these categories can be further analyzed into several aspects. For instance, knowledge may include knowledge of specifics, ways and means of dealing with specifics, and understanding of universals and abstractions within a field. By designing tests that address this broader scope, educators can gain a more comprehensive understanding of student learning and achievement. In this slide, we focus on techniques for evaluating cognitive outcomes of learning. The most common and reliable technique for this purpose is testing. However, data can also be collected through non-testing techniques such as observation, inquiry, and analysis. Each of these techniques involves specific tools that help gather the evidence needed to assess learning outcomes. Within the testing technique, we can use written examinations, oral tests, practical examinations. These different test formats correspond to the type of learning being assessed. Written tests are generally more reliable for measuring cognitive learning outcomes, while practical examinations are better suited for evaluating psychomotor skills. Despite some limitations, written tests remain the most widely accepted method in higher education due to their higher reliability in judging student achievement. They provide a structured and standardized way to assess knowledge, comprehension, and problem-solving abilities. Here, we focus on oral examinations, which play a unique role in evaluating student learning. Oral exams are used to test oral skills that cannot be measured through written examinations. B. To confirm and further probe evidence gathered from written tests, such as in Aviva. C. To judge the extent to which oral skills are required by the subject. E. To make quick oral reviews for informal assessment of what students have learned or to identify deficiencies. To improve the validity and reliability of oral exams, particularly in language assessment, it is essential to 1. Clearly identify components such as listening, speaking, reading, and written expression. 2. Outline the aspects of evaluation for language and content in oral expression. 3. Define oral expression in terms of expected competencies, including using appropriate words in context, correct sentence structure and pronunciation, modulating voice according to the situation, speaking at a reasonable pace, arranging ideas logically, using proper gestures, and avoiding mannerisms. 4. Develop clear assessment criteria and define each criterion. 5. Prepare a scale for each component and a marking scheme. 6. Decide on the mode of conducting the examination. 7th. Devise suitable questions and exercises. 8th. Interpret responses carefully. 9. Provide feedback for remediation to support further learning. By systematically following these steps, oral examinations can be fair, reliable, and effective in assessing not only knowledge, but also communication skills and critical thinking. In this slide, we examine some common issues in educational testing that can affect the reliability, validity, and fairness of assessments. Some of the main issues include 1. Tests often consist of a very limited number of questions, typically 6 to 10. 2. The questions may not cover the major portion of the syllabus, leaving gaps in the assessment. 3rd, a chance element can play a large role, affecting student performance. 4th, many questions encourage memorization and cramming rather than deep learning. 5th, students are often given options, such as attempting any 5 or 6 out of 10 questions, which may affect consistency in performance. 6th, directional words like state, describe, explain, what do you know, and interpret can make questions vague, resulting in a wide range of possible answers. 7th, students may rely on guesswork. 8th, marking becomes highly subjective, depending on the evaluator's interpretation. 9th, standardization of marking is challenging, making it difficult to ensure fairness across different students and examiners. Understanding these limitations is important for designing better assessments that are fair, valid, and supportive of meaningful learning. This final slide provides the key references that have informed our discussion on assessing student learning in higher education. These works cover a wide range of topics, including formative and summative assessment, feedback, educational testing, and learning outcomes. These references provide both theoretical foundations and practical guidance for designing fair, reliable, and effective assessments that promote deep learning, reflection, and student success. I encourage you to explore these works further to deepen your understanding of assessment in higher education.